Louder with Crowder is brought to you in part by
CrowderShop.com.
You'll look better, but more importantly, you'll feel better. Unless you have COVID, then you'll probably die. CrowderShop.com.
Oh, hello. I don't have a slurp because someone just called me on my iPad.
Oh, really?
I saw that.
And I accidentally hit answer. Hello. They're not there.
Oh.
This is the problem with not using prompter when I just look down for notes. Or as John Stossel says, shoot from the hip.
Oh.
Yeah.
Give me a break. All right, we have so much to get to today. Vaccine news.
Really?
Here's the thing. We're going to be talking about things today that if we would have discussed this time yesterday, or certainly the day before, would have been removed
Immediately.
from
Correct,
YouTube
yeah.
entirely.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that in a second. We have some more updates on also Kenosha. I know you're going to Kenosha. There's other riots.
Yeah.
It's Kenosha 2. And then we have some Chauvin trial updates, as well as some updates on foreign policy, which is always fun. Gerald A. is here. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Terrible. How are you, Quarterback Garrett?
I'm doing great.
Accepted amongst no communities. And
I don't care.
Landau Dave.
Ahoy.
You have some dates coming up.
I do. This weekend, starting tomorrow, you can see me at Visani's Comedy Theater in Port Charlotte, Florida. I'll be there.
At
Come
what
on out.
comedy theater?
Port Visani's.
Vasani's.
Visani, it's Italian.
You've made it.
Yep, I sure haven't.
Try the clams.
No, really, you should. The food's outstanding.
I did that one time. It was called Solano's in Cape Cod, and I was quickly escorted.
Oh.
So we have so much to get to, and I tell you what, I am beside myself today. I'm in a bad mood.
Yep.
Because everything is shit.
Oh, well, it's
That's
2021.
pretty much what it is. And I know everyone's like, well, can you give me hope? I have none to give. However, there is a little bit of a silver lining right now. Good news. Today, Joe Biden is expected to announce, and Chuck Schumer was talking about this, the withdrawal of all troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. We have a clip.
Can I ask you about that date? You know, as a New Yorker yourself, September 11th, are you comfortable with giving that date as a withdrawal? That will be the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks?
Well, I think, again, endless wars have not, it's 20 years, endless, the terrorist attack was terrible. We're much, much better at fighting terrorism today than we were, and Obama took out bin Laden. And so I have a great deal of respect for what we have done to fight terrorism.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Wishmaster. So all troops withdrawn.
Yeah. Withdrawn.
Thanks for the grammatical correction. On or by September 11th. So terrorists, save the date. Always looking out for the other guy.
So peaceful.
Gerald, change your shirt.
What?
Okay? This was an accident where we
Yeah,
came in.
what
We're
is
in
this?
Change your
Come
shirt.
on.
Yeah, change your shirt. Look,
Both of you did that on purpose. I watched.
we have a shop at CrowderShop.com. Put that on there. That's how you support the show, and we have plenty of merchandise. While he's doing that, I'll move on to the next story here. Before the vaccine stuff is the bulk of it, and Chauvin. But this is an important story we had to cover. Nancy Pelosi.
He's naked now.
Is he naked now?
Yeah, he's naked.
He didn't say change his pants.
They didn't say changes. He has none to change. Speak pants to me, spirit. I have none to give.
And so fast, you don't wear pants.
Gerald was dead to begin with. So Nancy Pelosi.
Great shirt, by the way.
A lot of Dickens references today. Nancy Pelosi said that she would have put up a better fight at the Capitol riot. She said, if I were there, I would have put up a better fight because, she said, quote, because I am a street fighter, which,
Okay, sure.
as opposed to Andrew Yang, who claimed that, quote, he's more of a Mortal Kombat guy.
Right there with you.
When we were deciding
Raul
which Mortal
Julia is a better Street Fighter now.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, though it was really weird that M. Bison kept
Yeah.
saying, "Cara mia."
Exactly. Yeah. He's kissing everybody.
We were thinking, hey, what is the which character would be? And we realized that almost all characters in Mortal Kombat are kind of racist.
Oh, every one of them.
All of them.
A little.
why I
Except for
like
Johnny
the
Cage.
game.
He's the only one.
Fun game. All the Asian men have masks. They have rice patty hats, or they're wearing a kung fu sash and going.
Yeah.
"Oh!"
They also can get lightning to them,
I know.
which is only in that and John Carpenter movies.
Yes, this is very true.
Big Trouble.
Wishmaster was Craven. And
Yes.
Schumer. We have some other stories. By the way, CrowderShop.com is how you can support us. It's a live show Monday through Thursday. That's the best thing you can do. Notification bells, subscriptions. Just tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Yes.
And comment here below. This is something I want to talk with you guys about this. I really do like we fostered an environment where like every show gets 15,000 comments or something like that.
Yeah.
You guys actually generally
Pretty
have
awesome.
thoughtful discussions. Look, we're going to be talking about the vaccines here. At what point do people are there liberals out there, leftists who are reasonable, who at least understand that people who are sounding the alarm saying these vaccines may cause blood clots. They may not be entirely safe. They were being banned. Are there any reasonable liberals out there now who go, you know what? Okay, maybe let's curb it on the removing dissenting viewpoints, because at that point you had multiple countries, borderline continents, who stopped the AstraZeneca vaccine for the same reason. We didn't know about Johnson & Johnson. Also, by the way, it was nicknamed Biden's vaccine because it was the only one that happened during his administration.
And it didn't function
Interesting.
in America.
This one doesn't need to be refrigerated. Also, it don't work.
You leave it outside on the porch.
It's like my brain
My wife
medicine.
shot it.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Okay, so let's go to some updates here. The Floyd trial and the Black Lives Matter updates. They're all kind of one and the same. Yeah. Now, the riots of the summer, I know for a lot of people, they kind of blend together.
Yeah.
So you look at Kenosha, Minneapolis, every major metropolitan area where there was any protest, period, without exception. You might not remember Kenosha specifically, but let me refresh your memory because they were particularly egregious.
My call lot.
Olive's Dave's car.
These deals are on fire.
It's Jay Leno's garage.
Jeez.
Kyle Rittenhouse was at this one, correct?
Some people of color took my Bentley.
I still got. I never spent any of my Tonight Show money. You can have that too.
I'm still a comic, but then they held me up for it. So I guess they're going back to the Tropicana.
What an idiot! Spend your money, stupid.
Yeah. So remember Jacob Blake? Here's the thing: the officer. I think the officer went back now to work.
Yeah.
The officer who shot Jacob Blake, or the officer who was involved in arresting Jacob Blake, and Jacob Blake is it's Rustin Shesky. Sorry, is the name of this officer. Was placed on administrative leave, is now back, and of course trending. Jacob Blake. People are protesting.
Yeah.
I have
They
a
mad.
few opinions here. Let me refresh your memory. And this was all by rote this morning. Jacob Blake. Let's put a pause on the Chauvin Floyd trial for a bit. This was a guy who sexually assaulted his wife. She reported it. Sorry, not wife. Live-in girlfriend,
Yeah, partner.
baby mama.
Yeah, yeah.
In French Canada, they don't get married. They call them. You know what they call them? Coloc. My coloc.
Oh.
Coloc means roommate. Also, you know what your wife is called in French? Femme. You know the word for woman? Femme. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the language that's not
Yeah.
going to advance.
Right. And the language of
Culture,
love,
yes.
you know what I like you is? Je t'aime. You know what I love you is? Je t'aime. Anyway, the point is Coloc.
It's not creative.
Jacob Blake's Coloc. But mon prix comment concert de bat de baseball, Coloc. So, French Canadians out there love that. Jacob Blake
It's a niche.
sexually assaulted his baby mama. Okay,
Yeah.
she called the cops, did the right thing, filed a restraining order. He then returned to the home of the lady who he sexually assaulted, forcefully took the children and the keys to her car, at which point she called the police officers, put the kids into the car, was about to drive off. The police officers showed up, tried to restrain him on one side of the car. He shut them off and then ran to the other side of the car where he reached for a floor mat before he was shot, which we now found out was housing a hidden knife. Do I have that right? Here's the thing we talk about. Look, can you give us that one? And by us, I mean all of America who want law and order, and more importantly, the victims of actual sexual assault. Why is no one talking about that? Look, do you think when you talk about rape culture, are we only supposed to care about the fake ones? The ones where a woman comes out and says, oh, Brian Callen sexually assaulted me years ago, but I still worked with him for 4 years and there's no evidence, no proof, didn't file a report, didn't take a rape kit.
Yeah.
Whereas this woman, a woman of color, reported it to the police and then did the right thing, went through the process, filed a restraining order, called the cops when this rapist, sexual assaulter was back, and you don't talk about her at all. I guarantee you, can't find the stats on this, there are more women of color in this country, black women, who are victims of domestic abuse and sexual abuse that go unreported because of this, because there's the no snitch culture. They're told that cops all want to kill them, that they won't help them. In this scenario, the woman went to the cops, did the right thing, they did the right thing, showed up in record response time, and none of you care. None of you care. What should we do? We should let the Jacob Blakes of the world just commit sexual assault, go on back, steal the keys, steal the kids, and then like a revolving door from Elf of raping his baby mama. But we don't care. You only care about the ones that can't be proven.
I mean, let him grab the knife and start stabbing police officers, and then a more dangerous situation occurs where cops are now shooting from multiple angles, and maybe kids get hit in the back. I mean, what do you really want us to do? And why is the perpetrator's behavior never talked about?
Right.
I know there are situations where police overreact and they do things they shouldn't do, but you want like almost 100% chance of not getting shot by the police? Don't resist arrest.
Also, let's start by not raping.
That's a good idea.
One as well.
That's just for starters.
We should also start a GoFundMe to get him rims for his wheelchair.
Yes. Yeah. Does he have a wheelchair?
Does
Oh, yeah,
he
that's
in a
right.
wheelchair
He's getting
now?
a lot of money.
I
And the
believe
wife who was
he
sexually
fitted
assaulted.
him for a chair.
The wife
Wink.
who was sexually assaulted came out and then was like,
Paralyzed.
defending him because they see everything through the prism of race. Look, I don't want. Look, this is the issue too. When you just do the sexual assault, the fake bullshit. Guess what happens? Men are demonized because we all hate rape. We all hate rape.
Yeah.
We would bury all rapists beneath the train tracks without a eulogy. But then you say there's a rape culture and men don't do anything. I'm going, oh gosh, I must be in the minority. All these other men must be pro-rape. They don't even do well in prison. And then when there's a scenario where you can actually protect, or at the very least, not condemn the cops who are actively protecting a woman who reportedly, on record, is a victim of sexual assault, you do nothing. Why don't you care about black female rape victims? But burn the city down.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, that guy's going back to work, and his dick doesn't work.
There you go.
Just being blunt.
Let's keep it. Let's keep it. You
That's
go out on.
PG.
You go out on your limb.
PG.
Yeah. Well.
His limb don't work.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Take the hint there, Dave. Notification bell, hit it, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot on YouTube. You know, listen, people always talk about this, though, for rapists. They're like, castration would be the warranted punishment.
They should.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot.
I think, and of course I don't support that. Of course, I'm not saying it's a good thing that he... I
the
think the
sentiment.
cops were well within their right to shoot the man when he was reaching for a knife.
Yeah.
After violating a restraining
did you
order
watch the video?
against the woman that he allegedly raped, sexually assaulted. It wasn't a, hey, sweet cheeks. He didn't call her pumpkin.
Yeah. This
He
one,
violently sexually assaulted her.
this one, and the guy that shucked two police officers and body slammed them in the parking lot of a Wendy's are like the two most clear-cut cases.
Yeah.
Where cops should basically be put on administrative leave for a little while because that's the policy.
Yeah.
They should go right back to work whenever it's over, just like happened.
You know what? We'll look for this in the comment section. I want to be fair. Find me just the equivalent clear-cut case on the opposite side of the spectrum. Find me the clear-cut case of a person of color who is simply pulled over for a speeding ticket and they unload the magazine. Find me that, because if that were it, then that would justify some of the right. It wouldn't justify the riots. It would justify you saying that the system is racist. Right here, as clear-cut sexual assault, restraining order, violated, reach for a knife, violent with the cops, pretty clear. Find me one. Find me the yin to that yang. All right, here's another one now. Floyd trial. As we talk about all this, it's confusing because there's Brooklyn Center, there's Minneapolis, there's Kenosha. Now we're back to Floyd. Yesterday, the use of force expert Barry Broad. That's his name.
Is it Broad?
Is it Barry Broad or Barry Todd?
Broad.
Okay.
Rod.
He testified that Derek Chauvin was justified in his restraint of George Floyd. Here's a clip.
Now, based upon your training and experience and your expertise in the use of force matters, your review of the materials that have been provided to you, have you formed opinions in this particular case to a reasonable reasonable degree of professional certainty?
I have.
And can you just briefly overview your opinions in this particular case?
I felt that Derek Chauvin was justified and was acting with objective reasonableness, following Minneapolis Police Department policy and current standards of law enforcement in his interactions with Mr. Floyd.
I highly recommend you go and watch his whole cross-examination. It was worthwhile. He's an expert, especially if you're a fan of Krull. Yeah. Yeah.
Squint your eyes, you can see
Yeah,
it.
look.
Yeah.
That, and by the
can
way,
see it.
that was that was the only Asian ape in a kimono, who was.
that's right,
He was
yeah.
the teacher
Oh,
of
yeah.
Michael Clark Duncan, who in the
Oh.
film was also a giant ape.
Yeah.
Which, when you
also-
think about, really, I don't know how you. And by the way, just to be clear,
yes.
guy's name is Barry Broad. We did all of our research. Okay, I thought the bitch was white. Swedish surname, lives in Montana. I'm just saying he looks like the only Asian ape
Yeah.
in
Gotta
the
watch
Planet
out
of
with
the
those.
Apes, which I believe was kind of racist.
He also looks like Colonel Sanders. Like he's going to
Little
be
bit.
sitting
He
on the
does.
stand going, I thought the shooting was finger licking good.
Right. Like, yes, and do keep in mind that you are under oath. Can you tell me about the 53 spices?
Gotcha.
You've done it again.
Done it again.
Always after me.
What do you do with Planet of the Apes? Think about this, though, now, with Planet of the Apes, because you had Michael Clark Duncan playing a giant
I didn't
black
know that,
ape
by the way.
in Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
with Tim Burton. You certainly
Yeah.
can't have... You certainly can't do that now. You certainly can't have black actors play apes.
No.
But you also can't have white actors play roles that were historically played by black actors.
Right.
So you have to do it all CGI. And then when you do Planet of the Apes CGI, DeRay complains that it's racist because one of the apes had a blue vest.
Just put the franchise to bed.
You guys remember that?
Done.
DeRay's like, this was violating my copyright. And I was sitting there going, it would have never crossed my mind to look at a monkey with an AK-47, thinking, DeRay? Until you said, that's my blue vest.
Just put Ron Perlman as every character.
Yes.
Because he's a white guy, and I'm sure he's a silverback gorilla.
Just
true, yeah,
Ron
he's-
Perlman and Clint Howard, and you save on makeup.
There you go.
You
It's
don't-
easy.
They are unevolved people.
Hey, Clint, how long were you in the makeup chair? I don't know. I'd wager about 18 minutes.
Yeah. I read
Wow.
4 words of a magazine.
I never finish the stories.
I was reading Playboy for the article.
He would.
Now on Monday, Chauvin's defense attorney they questioned the cardiologist. What was it, Dr. Rich, on what would have happened. This was just a great.
Did they question
Line
the
of pro-
Cardi B-ologist?
The Cardi B-ologist.
I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt.
They're like, Cardi
I just
B-ologist.
pictured her.
Hey, what is this? Is
Oh.
ectoplasm? That's my wife.
Ow. Ow.
Your Honor, could we put a phone book on the witness stand, both for height and sanitary purposes?
Do you have a chair condom? Have you seen this woman?
Is there a recliner dam?
She's gross.
She is a terrible human being.
Just
I
awful.
agree.
Oh my
Just the
gosh!
worst.
My wife couldn't listen to that song, by the way, so it's not just a man thing.
No.
I was like, okay, sweetheart, I know, like I've heard of people being out of touch.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to this WAP. And it was like another Elf reference. It was like Elf with the perfume. When she heard about 30 seconds, she went and ran out of the room. So blame the patriarchy.
I would rather a prisoner use me as a WAP than listen to that song.
And if you started playing it, it would kill the mood.
Yes, it would.
yeah.
It'd be like,
Turn that off, man.
God, start banging his tin cup.
yeah.
I need some me time.
He's a soicus mouse.
I have not made good choices. So on Monday, they interviewed the cardiologist, Dr. Rich, and this defense who looks like, by the way, our own beloved Audio Wade, who has happy with his job. He might be back here pretty soon just to appear in a segment or two.
Nice.
I don't want to ruin it, so this is cross-examination here of this expert, and it's perfect.
Had he not been restrained in the way in which he was, I think he would have survived that day. I think he would have gone home or wherever he was going to go had he not been subjected to the prone and positional restraint that he was.
So in other words, if he had gotten in the squad car, he'd be alive.
I think my answer remains the same.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. By the way, Bryce, cut it out. He's screwing around with the notes right now.
I see.
People don't remember this. If he had not been restrained that way, that was by request. Also because he kicked officers while he was in the car.
True.
So that kind of plays a factor. But it wouldn't have happened had he not been down on his side. He said, "Don't put me in the car." And like we were talking about with the other arrest, you don't have get in the car. We could have avoided all of this. But now you have police officers who are so self-conscious. They're going, "Oh, wait a second. What about the optics? If I put him in the car and he's yelling, saying, 'I can't breathe,' he's saying, 'Put me on the ground.' There are people around saying, 'Put him on the ground, man. I guess I should do what they want.'" Yeah. No, you don't give criminals what they want.
You toss them in the back seat.
You toss them in the back seat where you know it's safe. It's effectively a padded room, and they can't get out. And you take them on down to the station.
Yeah, for everybody who gave me crap about that was my point. Is he just should have been forced into the car?
Yeah, it was a perfect.
And I'm not saying I know everything about police work. I'm just saying that's how I think it should have gone. And clearly, according to this guy, an expert, that's what should have happened.
Right.
So by catering to what he wanted, which clearly he doesn't know what's good for him.
Right.
Because he died.
Well, he thought fentanyl.
Well, right.
He thought that was good for him.
Right.
And he sprinkles it on his cereal.
I mean, it's not bad for you if you do the right amount, right, guys?
It feels right.
Yeah.
Just enough to,
Dave,
give me a nice glow.
Just makes me feel.
YouTube, I'm not endorsing fentanyl for children, but I'm kind of endorsing fentanyl for children. So
No, you're not. No, stop it.
The new kid show, The Fentanyl Gang.
I'm pretty sure when I had my appendectomy as a kid, they gave me fentanyl in the hospital.
Oh, really?
Really?
But they used to use fentanyl. That's what it was for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of
It's like the
stuff.
cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine used to be for a cough and heroin. It's like, your baby's got a cough, better do heroin.
Give him
about
some
it.
heroin.
Oh, crap.
Are there any
This stuff
side
is addictive.
effects? Nah, his eyes will roll back into his head, and then he'll smile for a good long while.
Have a
so
good time.
This is about as close to we get to a control group in the Roaring Twenties.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of newspapers that printed stories about that, but they were banned.
Right.
Saying that cocaine was bad for you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's a weird
Yeah.
parallel.
It's a weird parallel foreshadowing, which, by the way, goes to, hey, you wouldn't know about any of this if you were just watching the media's coverage of the trial. Here's CNN.
And you talk in this book about, what the subtitles, what I say to my friends about racism. What do you say to your friends about this trial?
I say that it has been deeply emotional. It is traumatic, and
everything to you is deeply emotional and traumatic.
I think we all are reliving it over and over and over every time we see that video.
We don't condone this. We don't authorize this. And the other critical mistake that was made today by the defense was through this guy, Barry Broad. Broad said, you know what? You have to look at what the reasonable officer was doing, meaning we need to put the jury in the shoes of this officer, so this officer can the jury can feel whether or not and determine whether or not this officer acted reasonably.
Well, the defense has tried to make the case that George Floyd's death was caused by his drug use. You would think that during his 2019 arrest, where he allegedly consumed controlled substances, he would have presented at least some of the same medical symptoms that he did under Chauvin's knee.
You mean like delirium, shortness of breath, and nonsensical statements? Speaking of nonsensical, I said CNN, that was MSNBC, but I repeat myself.
Big faux pas there.
Yeah, big faux pas.
People that are at least honest about their bias.
Yes, exactly. I actually don't have a problem with MSNBC when they're like, we're hacks. We're here. We're hacks. Get used to it. And it's called MSNBC Lean Forward. Is there? Which is it's like bend over.
They're like download Peacock, and all of America's like no.
Why would I?
No.
Why would I? I haven't seen a
lineup.
Peacock since the Macy's parade before they lip synced. By the way, that's how I learned about gay men. Was Richard Simmons when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wait,
it's a true
what?
story.
Pretty obvious.
Okay, I don't know if I should go on an aside here. Keep in mind, I did not sleep because my wife, pregnant with twins, was like, "You're hot." She said, "Can you move over to the corner of the bed?" So I took a sleep aid at 2 a.m., which also did not help me sleep because it turns out sleep aids don't stop your wife from yelling at you.
It's true.
So I'm still very tired.
You're kicking her repeatedly. I mean, come on.
Apparently. What?
Kicking
Why
her,
would you imply this? We've got a target on our back. You're implying that I'm a Jacob Blake? I don't kick my wife.
Just a little, little tap.
Unless she asks for
Yeah.
it.
No.
I just make sure I don't wear the stilettos. That's a different request.
I just wish I was called hot, even if it was for that reason.
Oh, you will be. You will be. It's coming on down the pike. Me afterwards, restroom.
Deal. See you there.
No.
So I was a kid watching the Macy's parade, and we're going to get to vaccinations in a second, which is the most important component of today's show. Not the vaccinations, not the problem with the vaccinations, but how Orwellian our society has really become at this
Is
point.
it Johnson & Johnson way more tears?
Johnson & Johnson, a dead family company. So I was watching the Macy's parade, and it wasn't Matt Lauer, whoever used to do the correspondent. It wasn't Matt Lauer or Al Roker, but it was Richard Simmons. I might have been 4. and he's wearing a black rhinestone tank top, and it says Sweetie Pie because that was his book at the time. And I'm watching it with my dad. We always used to watch the Macy's Parade and then the dog show afterwards. And he's sitting there with some Today Show reporter. He goes, "Oh, tell us about your book." "Oh, what'd you bring here, Richard Simmons?" He goes, "These are my new peanut butter cup cookies from my recipe in Sweetie Pie, and they're really good." And he kept talking, and my dad saw me as a kid. I was laying down on my stomach, and I go, and my dad's trying to say, like, hey, look at the Kermit float, look at the Kermit. I'm like, no, but Dad, why does that man act like a woman? Now, I think it was a little early for him to, in graphic detail, explain sodomy, but the point is my dad was transparent. Seriously, that's how I found out my dad was. Some hilarious. Men are more like women.
Well, and you're looking at a screen with a parade and that guy, and you're like, why is this guy so gay?
He really sticks out.
The parade is just completely heterosexual compared to Richard Simmons, which it's fair to say.
He's gayer than the male Rockette.
He really was something.
I loved Richard. Honestly,
he's still alive, isn't he?
He was kidnapped by his Brazilian witch doctor housekeeper, is what they say.
What? Are you serious?
Wait, I swear to you, when this show, you can go back in the archives, when this show was syndicated on Michigan radio, I was direct messaging back and forth with Richard Simmons to get on the show. And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah." And then he was like, "I have to go. I'm sorry, I can't." And then never heard from him again. And he hasn't been seen in years. Yeah. "I'm being kidnapped. I'm sweating to the felonies."
I've only messaged on Grindr.
Yeah.
That's more of a swipe.
Jeez.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's sad, though.
I know. He was wonderful. Look, he was wonderful. He was wonderful in that he helped, like, morbidly obese people get moving.
Yeah.
And I don't fault him for that at all. Did you ever see the one? Maybe someone can pull this for the Mug Club segment later. Did you ever see when he had like this little food organizer and he was on Letterman and it lit ablaze?
Was it the Deal-A-Meal, right?
No, but he also had like a steamer.
Yeah.
So someone could bring it. And you know, Letterman used to have a fire extinguisher anytime Richard Simmons got aroused. And which you couldn't do nowadays, but he brought it in. So we'll show that later. His little meal organizer just spontaneously combusted.
Oh, no.
Okay. So on Monday, too, now moving on, you guys all know about the Brooklyn Center that happened with, the Dante Wright was shot. And we'll show the footage. I warn you about that. They released the body cam footage. So if you have kids, I wouldn't want. You don't really see anything graphic here, but there are some takeaways. You now know that there was a female officer who shot him accidentally. However, the story that you were told, where he was just pulled over for an air freshener and just shot point blank for no reason, is obviously not true.
Right.
This is now the body cam footage from the female police officer on the arrest of Dante Wright. So look, the officer has him there. I don't know, is that the black officer there, quarterback Eric? Because there was one black officer. That is.
Yeah, that's him.
And then as soon as he passes him to the woman, shuts her off, gone. I'll tase you, she says. He's yelling, taser, taser. Yeah. So we have a few takeaways here. Let me be clear about a few things. Now that we've seen the footage, race obviously had nothing to do with it. Okay.
Yeah.
The female officer seems less than capable, and if you have warrants out for your arrest, don't violently resist arrest. Now, that being said, let me be really clear. If this, whether male or female officer, tried to arrest him and he shucked them off that way and ran into the car where he could be reaching for a gun and they said, "Hey, freeze, I'll shoot," and they shot him, I would argue that it's justified at that point because many cops are killed in those exact scenarios. They get run over. A vehicle is a weapon. A gun is a weapon. The issue here is the accidental shooting and the woman who didn't know the difference between a taser and a firearm. And not only that, her partner crosses that line of sight on the barrel like 3 times. This woman was a danger to herself and her partners. And I will tell you this is the issue that I have with female officers. Oh, can you say, look, what is a female cop going to do if not shoot, whether it's a taser or a gun? That guy clearly said, "Oh, this is my chance." The second he was passed from the big burly male officer to the female yelling, "Taser, taser, taser, taser," and couldn't even tell that she had a loaded firearm aimed at her own partner. This is something that I think is pretty important. It relates to everything. I was talking about this with you yesterday. It relates to feminism and how they've lied to women. We see this with obviously the female officers, women in the military, where they create gender-neutral fitness tests, and then more women fail. So they say, well, we'll have a gender-neutral test, which we already lowered the bar to make sure that more women could pass. But now we're going to take into account biological differences. differences. Huh? And then, by the way, if you claim to be a woman and you're a man, you can take the gender-neutral but biologically different test. Yeah, we want you to go to the front lines, and you don't have to do a tummy tuck. Just do planks. Good. September 11th. That'll keep the terrorists shuddering in their boots, if they have boots over there, shuddering in their sandals.
Especially when you tell them you're not watching them on the anniversary.
Right.
Yeah. We're out of here.
I can't believe you forgot our anniversary. Oh, come on, at least a dinner or something. So
I made 2 cakes.
Well, I made 2 cakes. It's just sand compounded. Here's the thing. We convince young women that they add value in ways that they don't, because we convince young women that they add value in ways that a man would add value. So let's use this with a female officer there, okay? And I know this isn't a rookie. She's been on the force for over 2 decades, from what I understand.
To be clear, she's the one holding the gun yelling taser.
She's the one holding the gun yelling taser, taser, taser. Yes, exactly. So I don't know how she slipped through the cracks, but I have a guess. We have lower PT requirements, for example, in the military until we became gender neutral. We want to have quotas being filled. For example, United Airlines saying, half of our pilots are going to be women of color, even though they make up 6% of the population. Hey, how about having the most capable pilots? But we can, this woman probably goes out. You see this a lot with women in the military, women in police force saying, look, I aced my exam. Well, great. You now have reached the bottom rung of average men in physical capability. You can't physically subdue somebody, so you have to shoot them. So you have to tase them. Men want a partner in the police force who can watch their back. They don't care that you did well for a woman. They want the most capable person there humanly possible. You add no value if you did the female push-ups. You add no value if you scored off the charts on a written exam, if you panic in the field. But here's the thing. When you're trying to empower women by saying they can be as good as a man, and you're convincing them to try and work on these character traits, right? These accomplishments that actually are of no value, you strip them of an area where they're more valuable than men. Think about it. What if that female was the best dispatcher that exists? What if she was the best paramedic? What if she was the best detective? There is no reason that a woman cannot be more capable than a man. And guess what? Every single man on that force would say, I want her watching my back. Why? Because she's the best. The same thing with women in the military. This is the same issue that we have with women right now in the sexual marketplace, as it's called, right? When we're talking about dating. I just read some recent stat that women over the age of 35 in the next couple of years, like over 50% of them will be single without kids.
Wow.
And they think it's a problem with men. Look, women now, and this is one thing, you'll have a Change My Mind coming out Monday. I have never been treated so shittily as by young college-age women. Oh, wow. Remember that girl said, your face is pollution? I said, why would you say that? She's like, I just got into the master's program.
Okay. I'm not talking to you.
Okay, Biden. I mean, how is that exactly non sequitur? But with young women, I'm authoritative. I have a great job. I'm super authoritative. I'm a self-starter. I have a PhD. And men go, I don't care. But you think that matters to a man because that's what women want from a man. Would a woman look at a man if he didn't have a job, if he didn't seem like he was able to provide for a family, if he wasn't at least capable, if he couldn't serve, provide, protect? That's interesting to a woman. It's attractive to a man. Do you know what men think adds value? First off, being attractive and being nice. That's attractive to a man. Why would you say smile more? Because evolutionarily speaking, it's sexually attractive to a man to see a woman smile. Why? Because men used to go out and hunt and gather, and the world was cruel and callous, and they want to come home to a woman who is loving and empathetic, who will be a nice wife and a good mother. That's attractive to a man for the same reason that you, as a woman, prefer men who are tall. And instead, we've told women, you can kick ass like man. You can't. We've told women, hey, you can be a young professional just like a man and have it all. Well, they reach the age of about 30 when their biological clock is ticking. 35, the window closes, and they're not happy. You don't need a man to make you happy. Yeah, they do. And when we talk about choice, too, the big complaint, it's based under this lie with women. And sorry, I know I'm going off here. It's predicated on this lie that, well, I never had a choice, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg says. I never had a choice when I was growing up. We had to be a stay-at-home mom. Actually, I would argue the opposite of that is true. Let me explain. Women never worked. Go back to the war effort. Look at who was popping in rivets. Look at who was people involved with breaking with deciphering code. Most nurses were women. Most teachers were women. The reason most women weren't CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, if that was a thing back then, or multinational corporations, is because they didn't want to work 80 hours a week because they knew they couldn't have a family, and they understood that that was something that would make them happy. And we've lied to women and say, you don't need a man. You'll never want a family. You'll be happy. You can kick ass. You're just as good as a man on the ground in a job that requires physical strength. They're not. Meanwhile, we could be telling them this is how you add value. This is what will assist other people in your community, men or women. And men, we didn't have a choice, by the way. Hey, let me ask you this. Everyone here is a man. Genuine question, okay? Genuine question. Were you ever provided the choice, or did you ever have a conversation with your dad saying this is what you do when you grow up, and if you want to have a wife, you can be a stay-at-home dad?
No.
It never came up. No, serious question.
Of course not.
Of course not. No,
I mean, like, son, you can fail.
Right. Now, with women, it's you can be whatever you want to be. Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Now, the lie is you can be all of these things.
Yeah.
But from a very young age, and I say this because I get so many emails, so many messages from confused young men. From a very young age, we have been made aware.
You said you wouldn't talk about
that. If we want to be attractive, if we want to have any of these things that will be fulfilling, that, hey, if you want a woman, if you want a wife, you better provide. And women are not accepting of men who are incapable of that in general.
Yeah. Well, and our basic point is that we want cops to go to the tool belt less often. We've made this...
Are we still talking about cops?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we are. Yeah, we're going back to this thing because so many different mistakes were made there. You want the most capable people on that job, period, that don't have to go to the tool belt unless it's an absolute necessity. And in this case, I don't think the other officer drew his firearm.
No.
Right? And he made a bunch of mistakes too, by the way. He should never have let that guy get out of his control. I don't know why they were still at the door and not at the back of the car. Like a lot of...
Why do you think he passed off the perp to a woman?
I don't know that he was passing her off. I know it looked...
No, passing him off.
No, I know. I'm sorry. Passing the perp off. I don't know if he was. I think the guy was moving around and he's like, hey, stop. And I think he was trying to position himself between him and the car. I think he was trying to get to the side. And that's when the guy realized this is my chance to break out of his grip.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see, like, hey, take him or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, here. No, I'm pretty sure he passes her.
So look, here, he's like, hey, stop doing it. And then
he kind of lets her go. No, he lets that one arm go. Yeah.
I think he's trying to get to the side a little bit, though, to kind of prevent him from...
Either way, the perp said, hey, I feel some cottony soft hands now. That's my chance.
Yeah.
Is that
That's true.
Yeah, I just don't know why he wasn't at the trunk. Like, why are you letting him stand right next to an open door?
Let's just call it racist.
I mean, yeah.
Burn down a scene.
He was going to probably comply up until old Miss Butterfinger came out. I thought I was going to tase him, but it turned out to be a gun.
Well, yeah. I feel horrible for everybody involved, right?
Yes, of
this
course.
guy's a bad guy, right? We know that. But he didn't deserve to be shot in this situation necessarily, right? We would all say that, unless...
I wouldn't say it was unwarranted. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was unwarranted. The issue I have is with the accidental shooting. Because that could happen in a scenario...
Taser was warranted.
No, I think a shot would be warranted. In other words, if a guy's getting into a car, I wouldn't condemn a cop, certainly not as a racist murder or a lynching, if the cop said, hey, I'm going to shoot.
Yeah, well, especially since we know that he had a gun charge too, right? That adds to kind of the thinking, and they knew that.
And an aggravated robbery.
Yeah, so that does complicate it. But I think for her, 26 years on the force, may have had a fantastic career and made a mistake. Made a training mistake, right?
Yeah.
You grab on your right side instead of your left. If you look at the other cop, the taser's on the opposite side.
It's not a mundane detail, Michael.
No, it's a big detail. I'm just saying it's a mistake in a high-pressure situation, in a job that people don't want you to be in right now because the whole world is burning down every police station they can find.
Yeah, well, maybe drill it more.
Thing.
Oh, my God, he's shooting my partner. Randy Taney, Lefty Luciano.
Right. Yeah. That is also true.
I am woman, hear me shoot.
Just shoot
Rosie the Riveter now would just be morbidly obese, waiting at a Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
It's not even the same.
Collecting a check.
Yeah, and instead of her biceps, she'd be holding a coat hanger.
Yeah, just this with getting a...
Yeah. Well, look, this is how we've told women they're empowered now.
Yeah.
Hey, not find a guy who's sexually responsible and be sexually responsible yourself. Let's make sure you have unfettered access to abortion all the way up until and including birth.
But what if you're a lesbian?
Still free abortions, just on principle. They're mostly lapse lesbians, my dear. But the principle is the same. So
there are ones too that play the male role. And if you've seen them, I agree.
Yeah. So here's the mayor of the Brooklyn Center now then came out and spoke at a press conference to discuss these developments about that female officer and about what happened.
Yes.
Here is the beginning of that press conference.
We are still experiencing trauma in our community from the events that unfolded.
That's his microphone, not
which led to the killing of Dante Wright. We have received a resignation, a letter from Officer Kim Porter. And in addition to that,
on drugs? Why is he looking around?
We have also received
Clockwork Elves?
a letter of
No, it's a mirror.
resignation from the police chief.
So that was just the start of it, and then he opened it up to questions afterward.
Yeah.
And you know what I will say? Often, you see these softball questions everywhere. What I appreciate is that he actually had to deal with reporters asking him really what we were all thinking. I think they did a good job.
Those are the updates we have for you at the moment. If you have any questions, we're happy to stand for questions.
Harold Laurie with Brooklyn Center. Quick question. Why the novelty shop hat?
Yes.
Yes, me? Okay, yes. Brian Wilson, Observer, an eccentric newspaper. Were you sitting on your hat all day?
Yeah, hold on. Quick follow-up. Is that hat not adjustable, or is it sort of a one-size-fits-all thing?
Are you wearing what Gary Coleman was buried in?
Hey, man, you should wear that hat.
Yeah, hey, Harold, one more quick follow-up. Is the cardboard structure still in the hat?
Excuse me, sir, did you grave rob Emmanuel Lewis?
Yeah, follow-up, and only take his hat?
Hey, man, I don't even mind the hat. You do you, though.
Sir, yes, just a quick question. Is your head all f***ed up and your hat fits perfect?
Yeah, like if you take off that silly-looking hat, is your head shaped like a reverse mushroom?
Are you proud of yourself?
I don't know how many times I have to tell you that hat is offensive, looks stupid as you moss-deaf, radio-looking motherfucker.
That's
Look
right.
like you supposed to come in with a shopping cart playing Casey Kasem and shit. Take that shit off.
Absolutely.
Could have gone better.
Yeah,
could have been worse.
He really dodged the questions, though, which I didn't like.
He really dodged the questions. And I know for some of you thinking of that sketch, yes, I think it absolutely warrants.
Oh, they're the worst.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me reflect. I think I need to reflect how I really. Yeah. So. Look, they deserve a nice depth of field effect.
They do.
They do.
We're giving them material.
It's very nice.
All right. I still don't understand the choice. Mayor.
That part of it, I don't get it either. I don't know why. I think a PR person was like, look, I just fished this out of storage.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Your hair looks terrible. Here, put this on.
You're part of the community. Put it on.
Every single lids has been burned down, but I found this at the post office. Sold!
Yeah, take off your tie so it looks like you're at a yacht club.
Yeah.
Having a luncheon.
And we'll also place a phone book under your feet. This is one Cardi B used? Yeah, we ran out of phone books.
Yeah.
He just
Still a
slips
slime.
off
It's
of it.
solid.
We'd recommend cleats.
Bashes his head on the podium. Stop giving me the Cardi B book. It's a mess.
It's like the basement of Home Alone.
Okay, so here is something that's important. Let's move on to the vaccine scenario right now. What's going on CNN? This, by the way, this judge has never, I guarantee you, washed that Kevlar turtle mask.
No way. There's no way.
He likes the smell of himself too much. He's like, I'm great.
Great. Probably just
pathologist corroborating somebody else. That's going to be
looks
important.
so much like audio aid.
Here we go. Back to the
Yeah, you know he's selling those on Etsy,
Yes.
right? Those masks. He's like, judge masks, I'm not him.
Yeah. And he's
As seen on
farting in them and
CNN.
sealing them up like old Pringles cans.
Yeah, he is.
Come on, we all went to college. So,
Was Willie Nelson just on? It looks like ponytail back Willie Nelson.
Accreditation process. Yes, it does. Or committee, I should say.
by the
Yes,
length of his
a-
response time, he seems about as high as Willie Nelson.
Yes.
On the stand again.
I'm sorry, are you asking me about wild horses?
Yeah. Do you think this was a cardiac complication? You're always on my mind. This is irrelevant. You're always on my mind. Have you paid taxes? I have not.
Are you high? You know it.
You know it.
Don't search the bus.
It doesn't count if it's a vape. That's what he said in a recent interview. So talking about the vaccines, this is important because I think this is when people say, why do you talk so much about big tech censorship or the LGBTQ AIP? I think these are the two biggest issues of our time because not being able to actually have discussions, banning not just offensive jokes, but banning opinions because they're impermissible, which is where we are. I think if that goes, I think the rest of the country goes. And I also think that if we break down the barriers of men and women, if we just say that men and women are fundamentally interchangeable and a child doesn't need a father and a mother, which is the path we're going down, I think that we cease to be as a civilization. I think it's more important than corporate taxes. So that irritates me too, though I won't commit aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is just assault when you're having a bad day.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't really need that there as a header. So YouTube, if you don't remember this, before we go into the vaccine scenario, they censored a Governor DeSantis roundtable with doctors from Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, and they got rid of it for COVID misinformation. And I think we have a clip that we're allowed to show from it.
Hopefully.
Yes. Okay, so this was removed from a sitting governor and actual scientists. So, yeah, maybe we need to talk over it.
We wouldn't do that.
But now we're at the point where YouTube deleted a video of a roundtable with Governor DeSantis. And he had with medical professionals from Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford. But according to YouTube, they don't follow the science. So the guy in question was Dr. Martin Kulderoff of Harvard. And what YouTube claimed, and there's an article from NBC, that it was COVID misinformation, okay? Two specific instances in the video. One is where he was talking about COVID and comparing it to the flu for children in mortality rates.
Them.
Not us, because then he was asked about the efficacy of masks, specifically in schools and whether children should wear masks.
Right.
And he said that he didn't think so. I didn't realize I was tossing to a clip of myself in the past.
Yeah.
I think we had the clip in there and we had to cut it out.
Oh, we had to cut it out? Thanks, YouTube. Do you feel free? Do you guys feel free? Seriously.
Yeah.
The fact that that has been removed. So it was Dr. Dan Erickson, Artin Masihi. They were also banned last year for presenting scientific evidence as it related to COVID. You might have forgotten this. Our 15 days to flatten the curve anniversary.
Right.
That was removed for quoting the CDC, which went against the World Health Organization. Every now and then, on a day or two, they diverge. They didn't have their meetings. Then yesterday, and this is where we are now, Johnson & Johnson halted the vaccination. Well, actually, the FDA and the CDC paused the vaccinations from Johnson & Johnson due to some serious medical side effects. Yeah. The ones that we know of right now are blood clots that aren't normal blood clots. So I think this is Anthony Fauci, right, describing the pause.
King Fauci.
King Fauci. Yes, King Fauci. Here we go. Let's watch.
A couple of issues come up of the importance of calling this pause. Because people say, what does a pause mean? It really
That's not the question people are asking
the
you.
FDA and the CDC
No, at all.
to further investigate these cases to try and understand.
It's why are these
For
people
example,
dying?
If someone
It's like,
comes
pause.
in with this really rather rare
Not to be
syndrome
confused with
of
the select
thrombotic
button.
thrombocytopenia, where you
Where's
get
my
thromboses.
gold?
And when you have thromboses, the most common way to treat that is with heparin. That would be a mistake in this situation because it could be dangerous and make the situation much worse. So there's a clinically relevant reason why you want to make this known to people.
Okay, so there are 6 cases right now of women aged 18 to 48. The symptoms are saying occurred 16 to 13 days after vaccination, and then there was
6 to 13.
6 to 13.
At least 30 years isn't a crazy gap.
But think of it, I could be removed for that because I said 16. YouTube was like, oh, no, it's 6 to 13.
Misinformation.
I was playing it more conservatively. You communist oligarchs. So, and then a woman died. Okay, a woman died. She was 45 years old, died 12 days after receiving it. Okay. So if there were only 6 women, why would they stop the vaccination completely? And that's what they're trying to tell you is, well, it was only 6. This is why we're stopping. Now, here's the thing. The 6, if you watch the press conference, and I highly recommend you watch specifically the phone call that I believe was with the FDA, not the CDC, that took place yesterday morning before Fauci went on doing damage control.
Yeah.
I watched it in its entirety. The answers to the questions were more disturbing because they were begetting more questions. So they were saying, well, we know it's these 6 because they had 2 forms of complications, the blood clot and that other form of cerebral thrombosis, basically kind of variations on blood clots. And they're saying, so they had these 2 conditions which are very rare, and so we knew that was from the vaccine. And by the way, the medication that a doctor might give for a blood clot could kill them. So that's why we're saying this now. Okay, why would they pause the vaccine? And are they even looking at other people who maybe just had one blood clot, who maybe just had one serious symptom, and not including those?
Yeah. It does seem a little odd for 6 people. I think one of these people has died, right? One of them died.
Yeah, one of them died, and 6 complications.
The other 5 in very serious complication condition.
listening.
Out of 7 million, I'm reiterating, Dave, out of 7 million doses given.
That's what they're saying.
that seems kind of odd.
Yeah.
It'd be like shutting down a whole country for a small number.
Yeah, it almost would be like that.
Something like
if
that.
only we had something to scale this and put it in context.
Right, no, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, it's totally.
I want to be clear.
Absolutely.
I fully agree with that.
By the way, this is the issue. This is not an unreasonable stance for people. What has been my stance, everyone's stance here on the vaccinations, okay? I've said, look, I think the vaccinations they make sense for someone who's old. For example, I have a 97-year-old grandma right now with a lung issue. I think it makes sense for her. I think it makes sense for people where they're old, they're immunocompromised. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
And then I think with younger people, there's a risk-reward ratio where you have to weigh the pros, the benefits, and the cons. I don't think that makes anyone here Jenny McCarthy.
But I do have a lovely set.
Yes, you do have a lovely set.
Boy, she's an idiot. Can you imagine hanging out with her, Jim Carrey, and her goofball kid at a dinner? Just like, this is ruined. like, which one of you are ruined?
I was ready to try the clams.
Yeah.
You kind of told me.
Just 3. No wonder Jim Carrey was like, I'm going to just go get herpes instead.
I'm going to go get herpes and paint with watercolors.
Yes. Yeah. You can see my movies suck now.
Always.
So over the past month, by the way, the AstraZeneca vaccine, this was it had been halted or limited in over a dozen countries because of what they listed as blood clots. March 22nd, European regulators were notified of 86 cases, 18 of which were fatal. British health officials claim the risk of clotting outweighs the vaccine benefits only for people under 30. Now, AstraZeneca isn't currently authorized in the United States. Johnson & Johnson is a similar mechanism of action, not exactly the same. You have Moderna and Pfizer, and then you have Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca. Johnson & Johnson was nicknamed the Biden vaccine.
Ah.
Yes.
It didn't have to be refrigerated. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not blaming Joe Biden for any of this, but it's fun to toss that in there.
On his watch. Sorry.
So here's the main issue that I have. Not just the blood clots, and that's sad and it's horrible. Okay. The issue is that despite this valid scientific research and multiple international organizations saying, hey, these benefits don't outweigh the cons. Not to mention a doctor who even worked at Pfizer. Media platforms have been removing any and all content that allege complications with the COVID vaccine. Let me give you some examples. YouTube removed over 800,000 videos for COVID misinformation. Wow. 30,000 of them were exclusively about vaccines. YouTube specifically bans videos claiming that vaccines might kill people, and Facebook bans any claims, they did at least up until yesterday, they banned the claims as policy that the vaccine could cause blood clots. So here's my issue. Wow. 2-3 days ago, you could have been a doctor from maybe one of these governing boards in one of these European countries saying, hey, this vaccine is not entirely safe and it may cause blood clots, and you would have been removed from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, the town square. This is where we have to acknowledge that this isn't, when people say it's a private corporation, they all decide in unison, en masse, to remove people who have valid concerns. So when people say, hey, how much is a life worth because I'm not wearing a mask into a Quick Trip, never racetrack, only Quick Trip, these people don't, well, okay, how much are the lives worth where you silenced every single person who just said, hey, you know what? Maybe the vaccine isn't worth it if you're under 30.
Yeah.
Maybe something that is I'm just saying you need to weigh the pros and cons. There are people where it makes absolute sense for. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and they're trying to get rid of vaccine hesitancy, right? They want people to get vaccinated. So everybody, okay, well, then get rid of Kamala Harris when she said she wouldn't get the vaccine if it was developed under Donald Trump.
Right.
Play by the same rules.
Or just
you guys
get
don't
rid
care.
of her.
Well, look, if you want to go out there and be crazy and say vaccines are the worst thing on the planet, not about COVID, but other vaccines in general, fine. You know, I feel like people should have the freedom to say that.
Exactly.
You have to be able to back it up, though, for me to believe it.
People are going to take something with a kernel of truth and spin it into a conspiracy. But that's been going on since the beginning of time. So if you have someone who says, oh, there were 80-something cases of complications in Europe with the vaccine, therefore that means that George Soros is microchipping everyone and it happens to have the barcode 666, you go, okay, well, I'll take that with I'll take it with a salt bar for a horse, for a Clydesdale, right? You have to allow for that so that at least people can get access to information. Right now, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter cut people off from doctors and life-saving information. Look behind you. That's the Orwellian dystopia. And I really want to know, people, comment, if you're a liberal, if you're someone who sees yourself as a leftist or as a classical liberal, please tell me there are some liberals out there who at least understand the problem with this. You're not just going, yep, mandatory COVID vaccine passports. I mean, if this hadn't come out, and by the way, there's something beneath this surface.
Yeah.
There's got to be more here because they absolutely, this will be a disaster. They tried to skim along it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
They wanted no one to question it. COVID passports, don't question it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say if nothing had come out about this, we would never have heard about it, right? This would have never gotten onto the radar. It just feels like there's a lot more going on, like you said. But the passport thing you brought up, that is a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Like I will never, ever, 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 ever have a document that says, "Oh, I've been vaccinated from something, and so therefore I can get on an airplane or go into a business or something like that." Fine, I'll find alternate transportation. Well, I'll fly Spirit Air.
What they want to say is,
come on.
Times are tough, Dave.
Well, then if you don't have something, by the time you're done with that flight,
you will.
Yeah, you will. They don't even have seats. It's just everyone in stowage.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not even using ethnic pilots. They're just using animals to fly the plane.
Yeah.
It's
They just throw someone up there like, hey, we got a mule and a bottle of Jim Beam.
There's a
Who
chicken.
looks most like a pilot? You go fly.
Yeah, you go fly.
You're twerking. Can you fly a plane?
Yeah. It really is just, honestly, I don't know, unless there's a lawsuit that causes a big difference here and we're doing what we can. It really is. I don't know if there's any turning back from that. Think about this. Do you understand how this started, right? You said get rid of Alex Jones because he's crazy. That's what you guys did. Okay.
Then
you
him
said,
right on certain things.
Right. Then you said get rid of these people because they're offensive. They tell offensive jokes. Then you said get rid of that governor because I don't like what he says. Then you said get rid of the president because we want to say that Fight Like Hell was actually calling people to violence. And then you said get rid of doctors, scientists, and anyone who thinks that there might be complications with a vaccine that hasn't been used on a large population of humans in long-term trials yet. And you removed them, and now you have people who've died. Look. Slippery slope. We already said you're at the bottom of the slide, and I just when I was seeing this going on, I'm going, okay, is this going to be something that'll slap some sense into people? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think people are going, oh, it's good. We need to be protected from any information that might upset us. You were wrong. Can you admit that you were wrong? I admitted that I was wrong about Teslas. Can you admit that you were wrong about? At least we can't say about about COVID, about shutting everything down, because they'll say, well, no, it's worth it to save one life. Can you admit that you were wrong to support policies that banned doctors, scientists, and you know what? Even people like us who said, hey, I just think it comes with some risks that people need to be aware of. Can you admit that you were wrong in demanding that be removed from the discussion?
Yeah.
If you can't, then let's stop trying to find common ground because these are totalitarian fascist assholes.
Yeah, absolutely. And this started too with the climate deniers, right? They were saying, "Oh, you're science deniers because of climate change," and kicking them out of universities and silencing experts. I don't care what you think about COVID. If you're not listening to somebody from either Oxford, Harvard, or Stanford, you're not listening to anybody. Right. There is no one on the planet that can give you an opinion that you'll listen to.
Speaking of experts, in the trial right now, a forensic pathologist is talking about the death certificate, and we're getting word that they're going to be talking about the contributing factors to his death.
Oh, okay. Let's listen to this for a little bit.
Heart and drugs contribute to the cause of death.
They were significant, or they contributed to Mr. Floyd having a sudden cardiac arrest, in my opinion. That's how I would.
Is that Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa?
So I'm going to take this down.
I don't know.
South Africa.
If we can
think so?
Sounds like it.
Doctor, did you prepare a PowerPoint presentation to walk through your opinions in this case?
Yes.
I use Microsoft Paint, actually.
Yes. Can I keep the lanyard?
Judge, I've identified this as demonstrative exhibit 1098, and I'd move to publish.
In objection to 1098
Free product
for
placement for
demonstrative
Nestle.
purposes only. All right, it is received for that purpose alone.
So before we begin, Doctor, can you summarize briefly what your opinions are in this case?
Keyword briefly.
Yes.
Yes. Don't let your
So, in my opinion,
boys' sons grow up to be
Mr.
cowboys.
Floyd had a sudden cardiac arrhythmia due to his atherosclerotic and hypertensive heart disease, or you can write that down multiple different ways.
How about you give us the one way we should write it down?
His
Expert.
restraint and subdued by the police, or restrained by the police.
Well, this is why people don't want to listen to the experts, because they just drone on and on.
Contributory conditions would be, since I've already put the heart disease in part 1, he would have the toxicology, the fentanyl and methamphetamine.
Now, is that a 5 o'clock shadow, or did he just blow dust off the never-ending story?
Exhaust. So potentially carbon monoxide poisoning, or at least an effect.
Yeah, he just shaved in his Subaru with a hunting knife before he walked inside.
And paraganglionoma, or the other natural disease process that he has. So all of those combined.
What was a good brief answer. I'm glad he followed instructions.
Yeah, brief.
Yeah.
So let's walk
Could you
through,
call it process so we
each
know
of
you're a
these,
dick?
If we could. Starting with the opinions of Dr. Baker as far as the cardiopulmonary arrest.
It's true, though. It's so
Watch, with this answer, he's just going to bring up a Shakespearean skull.
Yeah.
Oh, wherefore art thou arteriosclerosis? Would heart disease by any other name for... Bang.
Can you just describe what this is and why it's relevant to this?
Do you mean read the title?
Yeah.
It is a guide for manner of death classification, also first edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, please just read these words and leave it at that.
As quickly as you can.
Treat it like an eye exam.
I feel like oh gosh, we should have the Alex Trebek the Saturday Night
Now,
Live
is
skit.
this description better or worse?
Yeah.
Oof. See it again? Better? They're about the same? Oh, we hate you.
I'll take the rapist.
Yes. I'll take ape tits. That's appetite.
Suck it, Trebek.
All right, so let's hear if he's saying
Sorts of
something
manner
useful.
of death. And again, it's a guideline put out there to assist medical examiners. And unfortunately, not every case cleanly fits into one particular category or meets the criteria for the guidelines.
Okay. So let's talk about, in terms of this
I'm going
second
to say
slide.
South African. I was assuming some Trevor Noah.
Positional restraint. How
Yeah,
does
only
the
this guy's
name
funnier.
Deal with
Roald Dahl's BFG was modeled after my face and ears.
positional restraint.
So the recommendation is that, well, it's not a recommendation. They say you may be
What's a
classified as a
recommendation?
homicide.
Punch him.
Okay.
It doesn't say shall or should. It says may be classified as a homicide. Again, we have to recognize that these are medical guidelines.
Yeah, that's important for people to recognize.
And-
To people who've been running around saying homicide means that George Floyd was murdered. Homicide means that you died in the from medical terminology.
Exactly.
In the presence of someone else, or there was involvement of someone else. It's not a criminal
Correct.
classification.
Yeah, but the media runs with it as though it is.
Yeah, well, they lie.
You can tell me that's not the same guy?
Spot on.
Same dude.
Acts directed at the decedent, without consent, of course. Further, there is some value to the homicide classification towards reducing the public perception that a cover-up is being perpetrated.
Oh,
by the
you
death
classified as a
investigation
homicide
agency.
to avoid negative public perception.
in terms
Worked
of the
like a
5
charm.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't burn down your cities.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Or the jury has heard testimony from
Just
other.
walk out and they see Walgreens aflame.
Yeah.
But we classified it a homicide.
As one.
They had COVID vaccines.
What happened?
Describe the others.
It's almost like my HR training was not helpful at all. It hurts my feelings.
Didn't I park my Beetle here? It's in
Next slide,
flames.
Can you describe what undetermined?
The engine's in the back, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the engine's in the back, my trunk's in the front.
You get rear-ended, it can be a bloody
The other
mess.
term on some death certificates is
A
could not be
homicide.
determined. It's a classification that's used
If
when
you will.
information
If you-
pointing to one manner
if there's another
of
person
death
there.
is no more compelling than one or more other competing manners of death.
You know, it is more
Thorough
compelling
consideration
anything but
for
you.
Yeah.
Available information.
Can we bring back Krull?
Yeah.
I thought that bitch was white!
What's interesting too about this when you watch
again,
a trial, this is also, and then look, we're going to go to Mug Club here, and we're going to be reading about actors.
Can I guess what you're going to say?
apologizing. Careful.
What?
Okay.
What is it?
Is it proof that this guy is around dead bodies a lot because he just wants someone to talk to?
Yes. Oh, this guy. Yeah, I don't know anything about him, but not a fan. We're going to, on Mug Club here, we're going to be talking about actors who've now apologized for their problematic roles.
That's good. It's about time.
I need my sheet.
Yeah, you do need, oh yeah, we need a sheet
Right
here
there.
for,
Where'd it go?
It's not here.
It's not here.
I might have an extra.
We'll have it printed out there.
I got it. We got
Angela.
it. We got
You got it? All right.
you got
Sorry,
it.
I didn't mean to make
But
it
right
look
now, I
low
want to
rent.
bring this back to, if you've watched this trial, you see that they bring in their own expert witnesses. And this is why you need an open dialogue on social media platforms, okay? This is why you need to allow people who 2 days ago were banned for saying, hey, it could be a complication with the vaccine, could be blood clots. Watching the trial, you'll understand that principle is undeniable, because you will see medical experts, one guy go up, say, I don't believe that his arteriosclerosis, I don't believe his high blood pressure, I don't believe a 90% clogged artery, I don't believe that it had anything to do with his death. Nor do I believe that 3 times a lethal dose of fentanyl had anything to do with his death. And then you have another medical expert goes up and say, everything that guy said is bullshit. Now, here's the thing. The process of figuring out who's wrong is you need to hear both sides of the argument. They're all experts.
Yeah.
We assume that there are relatively similar qualifications. We don't know. Maybe afterwards we'll find out that somebody totally made it up. That's happened before.
Yeah.
But you need to hear it.
Yeah.
And right here you will hear, oh, maybe there's someone from Stanford saying nothing to do with heart disease and drugs. And then maybe there's someone from Oxford saying, I disagree. In many cases, this would have been ruled a death by some kind of cardiac complication.
Yeah.
Why would you now decide that you're going to do away with that notion, that idea of people having access to information, especially if it's coming from qualified medical professionals, where you have one person, you have Fauci, for example. Let's take Fauci in one hand, because he can sit in my hand.
Medical
James is a giant
professional.
peach. He can sit in my hand and he'll say, there's all vaccines are great. You should shut down everything, double mask, and we need mandatory vaccines. Or sorry, he said he encouraged vaccine passports, right, in one hand, and then you have someone who's an actual doctor or physician or from Harvard and Oxford saying, actually, we need to be careful because some of these vaccines may have complications. We haven't studied them in all people, certainly not long-term studies, and we don't necessarily know the differences with demographics. And then you go, okay, let's hear the evidence. Now, instead, YouTube says, you don't hear that, or Facebook or Twitter, you don't hear that, and you're left with Dr. Fauci, who, by the way, I've never seen provide references or evidence when he's up there. He just goes, this is ridiculous. Trust the science. There's no burden on these people on the left of providing proof. Why? Yeah. Because anything that you say that might contradict them, you just get removed. Could you imagine what a trial would be like if they say, oh, by the way, only the prosecution is allowed to call witnesses, no cross-examination? That's exactly what is happening where 95% of the information takes place. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, and of course, Apple and Amazon. That's what's happening. They're saying only the prosecution is allowed to present witnesses, no cross-examination. You can't call your own experts. As a matter of fact, no closing arguments. You're not allowed to be there at all. Do you think that the prosecution would present a more compelling case? Do you think that you would be more informed if the court were set up that way? Do you think that you would be more armed as a citizen with information to make better decisions going forward, whether it relates to interactions with police officers or decisions regarding your own health?
Yeah. Well, they make movies about this, right? Where they show you a case and they give you one side of it and you're like, oh man, this person's absolutely guilty. And then they give you the other side just to show you how off your opinion was. And you're like, oh man, that person's totally not guilty.
Right.
You know?
We have to go in just a second, but I will say this. And by the way, best thing you can do is comment, crowdershop.com. Here's what I've heard a lot of from Fauci. And from the experts, the only experts we're allowed to listen to on YouTube and on mainstream media and Facebook and Twitter. I hear a lot of, you have to take the vaccine. People are vaccinated. You have to lock down. I hear a lot of, you need to mask. You need to double mask. People who question it just aren't making any sense. I hear a lot about the vaccines. Oh, by the way, also, these families can't sue.
No.
There's complete immunity. Yep. You complain about police officers, you complain about firearm companies, and that's another really dishonest statement. Joe Biden says the only companies that are actually given immunity from being sued are firearm manufacturers. No, that's not true. Here's the thing. If a firearm is defective, let's say you go to fire a Smith & Wesson and it fires backwards into your skull, your family can sue. If someone buys a Smith & Wesson from a mom and pop shop and they happen to go use it unlawfully, you can't sue Smith & Wesson. Just like if Toyota sells a car to someone and they go and run over a family, you can't sue Toyota. If Toyota gives you a defective car where the brakes don't work on the Prius, you can sue them for millions of dollars. The only scenario where a direct harm inflicted upon you, I don't know, an example of being injected directly into your bloodstream and then causing a life-threatening blood clot, no legal liability whatsoever. Find any other industry in America where that is the case, and then, if you can, find me any other industry in America where that is the case, and you and everyone watching is precluded from just saying, that's a little messed up. That's the world we live in, and we've got to point it out, and we have got to fight it, and that means lawsuits. That means petitioning your local senator, congressman, governors to make sure that states allow for these lawsuits. Look, there's actually a death toll now, and we don't even know what it is from the precluding of information that people don't like. It has cost lives, okay? Let's be clear about it, and now let's all hopefully allow all opinions at the table, and then we can decipher who's better, the prosecution or the defense. Or do you want to keep going on with Fauci on camera 24/7? I wish I loved anything as much as that guy loves to see the red blinking light. Okay, YouTube, thank you very much. People watching, comment, hit like right now. If you're watching, hit like. Just hit like. It'll help.
That's all you got to do.
Because our videos are not showing up in search, browse, anything anymore, so we rely on you. Mug Club, LouderCrowder.com/Mug Club, fight like hell, $20 off. This is the last day. YouTube, I won't even thank you anymore. I'll let this graphic speak for itself.